Today I am starting another reading for 24 hours. I love doing these so much because it's so interesting to see how much I can actually read in 24 hours. So the way I do it is I set a timer on my phone, and every time I stop reading, I stop the timer. So this tends to take me a few days to kind of get through. And then once I get to the 24-hour mark, I stop and see how much I've actually read. I wish I could be like other people and read for 24 hours straight, but sleep is just far too precious for me and it would just never happen. I feel like not a lot of reading would actually get done, but this is the way I do it and it's what's most comfortable for me. So I guess I'll just quickly share with you my little TBR for this readathon. What I have on my TBR is what's left of my 2024 autumn reading TBR. So first off, there's two books on my Kobo. The first one is Suburban Hell, and this one I think is like suburban moms who become undead. I'm not entirely sure. I can't fully remember and I don't really want to read the synopsis. I'd rather just go into it not fully knowing. And then I also have When Life Gives You Vampires by Gloria Duke. And this one, I believe, follows a woman when she wakes up after like a one-night stand or a fling and finds she's been turned into a vampire. I think that one's more of like a romantic comedy, whereas Suburban Hell is more of like a horror comedy. Then I have The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. This one is exactly how it sounds. It's a bunch of final girls who have survived horrific experiences where the people around them have all been slaughtered, and I'm assuming it's going to happen to them again. Then, of course, we have Fangs by Sarah Anderson. This one is an adorable graphic novel that follows a vampire and a werewolf and them falling in love, and it's just cute little dark humor comic strips about them. Then we also have Cryptid Club by Sarah Anderson. Once again, it's just cute little comic strips, except these ones are all about like cryptids. Then I have Carmilla by Amy Chu and Sue Lee. So Carmilla is classic lit. It's originally by Sheridan Le Fanu, but this is two other authors and illustrators it takes on the story, and I'm super excited to read this one. I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun. And then if some miracle happens and I somehow finish all of the books I've already mentioned, I also still have Pride and Prejudice and Zombies by Seth Grahame-Smith and Jane Austen, and then Cujo by Stephen King. I don't know if I'm going to end up getting to either of these this year. They were just kind of put on my TBR if I ended up finishing everything else. But if I somehow get to one of these, I'll probably go with Cujo just because I don't know if I'm in the mood for Pride and Prejudice at this moment in time. I guess we'll find out when we get to the end of all the other books, if we ever get there. But I think I've done enough talking for now, and I'm going to start reading. And I think I'm actually going to start off with Suburban Hell. So I am now almost exactly 5 hours in, and I just finished Suburban Hell, and that book was so much fun. I really loved it. It definitely was a really good one to choose for 24 hours of reading because I did not want to put it down, and the entire time I was dying to know what was going to happen next. So I'm so glad that I picked that one first. Super quick read, very funny, and definitely gives the vibes of like My Best Friend's Exorcism and Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. So I'm gonna rate this one 5 stars just based off the vibes and stuff. Such a fun time. It is 2 a.m., so I don't really think I want to get into anything else. I was hoping to maybe pick up a graphic novel, particularly Carmilla, tonight, but I think I'm just too tired right now. So I think tomorrow I might either start with Carmilla or When Life Gives You Vampires. We'll see kind of how I feel when we get there. So I just hit 5 hours and 50 minutes, and I actually just read Carmilla in one sitting. I really enjoyed the art in this graphic novel. It was very beautiful. The color palette was gorgeous, and it was a very unique take on Carmilla. So originally Carmilla, I think, was set in like the 17 or 1800s. I don't remember exactly, but this one is set in 1994, and it's about Carmilla in New York City in 1994, so definitely a very interesting take on it. It's not the same story. It's kind of like a continuation. I did really enjoy it. I just also feel like there definitely could have been more. It felt like we kind of jumped from place to place very quickly, and there should have been a little bit more bridging between two scenes. So for that, I think I'll give it 3 stars. I did really enjoy the characters and the art style. It just felt like there needed to be more to it. So now I'm thinking that I'm going to start When Life Gives You Vampires, just because I'm definitely in the mood for something kind of lighthearted and funny. So I think I'm going to start that and just sit in my beanbag chair for a little bit longer. I did think I might go outside and read a little bit today, but it's actually pouring rain right now, so I don't see that actually happening. Maybe tomorrow I'll get to if I'm lucky, but anyway, I am going to start When Life Gives You Vampires. I am now at 8 hours and 42 minutes, and I've made the decision to DNF When Life Gives You Vampires because it is just not very good. Unfortunately, I had very high hopes going into this one. It sounded like it was going to be a really fun time, definitely an interesting premise, but the writing is awful. The main character's inner monologue is super cringy, filled with abbreviations and slangs. I honestly don't even know how to describe it, but it's not good. I see where the author was trying to go and what she was trying to do with this, but it just does not work. I made it over 50% of the way in, and I thought I could really push through it, but at this point I'm realizing realizing the plot is not even worth it. The characters are very lackluster as well. I don't really love any of them, especially the love interest. He's very bland and boring. And aside from a few one-liners, I don't see any interesting qualities about any of them at all. So not worth my time. I'm kind of sad that I've wasted a few hours of my life trying to get through this book, but I am done with it now. I'm rating it 1 star and I'm moving on with my life because life is too short to read bad books. So I think for the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'm going to read Fangs by Sarah Anderson because I really want to read something quick and also something that I know that I'm going to love. And this one I know is 5 stars to me. Hopefully that'll kind of lift up my mood a little bit and then I can get into something else. So I'm now at 8 hours and 56 minutes, and I just finished Fangs. So that actually took a lot less time than I thought it was going to. I always forget how quick this read is. That was the 3rd time that I read Fangs, and I love it just as much as the first time that I read it. It's so much fun. Highly, highly recommend this one. It's just a really quick, funny read. Hopefully Fangs kind of got me back into the swing of things. I think I'm going to start The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. This one seems like it's going to be very gross and horrific, and hopefully that kind of keeps me wanting to read for the next few hours. I'm going to start reading this one, and I'm praying that it's like 4 or 5 stars. I am now at 15 hours and 29 minutes, and I just finally finished The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. And I did enjoy this book, but definitely not as much as My Best Friend's Exorcism or Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. At the end of every single chapter in this book, there's like little newspaper clippings and excerpts from like interviews between victims of massacres and the police, and then there's also ones that are about horror movies that have been based on those victims. And some of them were interesting, but others, particularly the ones about horror movies, really took me out of the story, and they were were a little confusing and seemed kind of unnecessary at times, so that definitely was not my favorite thing in this book. And then I don't know what it was, I just did not enjoy the writing as much as the other two books of his that I've read, so I think I'm gonna rate this one 3 stars. It was still good, but I don't think I'd like want to read it again and again. So I'm glad I finally finished this one, and now that I'm done that, I think I'm going to read Cryptid Club. I'm assuming this one's only going to take me like 10 to 15 minutes to read it, just like Fangs, but I kind of want to use it as a palate cleanser before I start either Cujo or Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, just because I don't want to start something really heavy right after finishing something that was relatively heavy. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll kind of decide where I'm going to go from there. So I just finished Cryptid Club at 15 hours and 45 minutes, exactly how I expected it to go. Once again, this book is 5 stars. I already knew it was going into it because I have read this one before. Sarah Anderson does such a good job on spooky little comics, and I really hope that she makes more in the future because they're just so much fun. So I'm actually a little shocked by this, but I think I'm in the mood to pick up Pride and Prejudice and Zombies right now. I've never read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies or Cujo, but I have read Pride and Prejudice a butt ton. I've also seen Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, the movie adaptation, so I'm definitely in the mood for a story that I'm a little bit more familiar with right now. I think I've decided that I'm going to read this one, and if I end up finishing this one before the 24-hour mark, I probably will start Cujo. So I am now at 20 hours and 20 minutes. We are finally in the home stretch here. And I just finished Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I wanted to like this book. I really did. It's not for me. I can definitely see how people like it, but I do not like this book. The first few chapters, it was kind of whimsical and funny. But then after that, it kind of just started getting tedious and a bit annoying. And the ninjas were a bit much. It's called Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I was expecting zombies, not ninjas. There were no ninjas in the movie, so I must say, if you like the movie, this is different from that, that's for sure. Just definitely not for me. I did consider DNFing this one, probably about 25% in, but I thought it would be kind of bad to DNF 2 books in one 24-hour readathon, so I pushed through it, and I wish I hadn't. So I'm gonna rate this one 2 stars, and the reason why it's getting 2 stars and not 1 star is because there are illustrations in it, and I did really enjoy those. I thought they were unique. And then also Jane Austen's writing portions were absolutely beautiful. I can't say the same for the rest of it. So now I've kind of had a little bit of a change of plan because I was going to pick up Cujo at this point. Honestly, for a little while there, I didn't even think I was going to make it to this point, but here we are. But I actually just received an arc called Deadstream by Mar Ramasco Moore, and this one looks like a really fun time, so I'm really hoping that it's good. It's a YA thriller, and it's about a girl who has got agoraphobia, so she is afraid of leaving her house, and she's really into live streams, and one of her favorite live streamer has someone in the background come into the frame while they're live streaming and then they're murdered. And so this girl ends up part of the investigation. Thinking about it now, this might not be my favorite book because I don't really like teen detective tropes. So I'm kind of hoping it doesn't go in that direction, but I am thinking it might. Anyway, it sounds interesting. The cover for it is stunning, so I'm really hoping the interior is just as good as the exterior. So I thought this is kind of what I would do for the last few hours of this readathon, and hopefully this will bring me right to the end. I literally just made it to 24 hours and 1 minute as I finished Deadstream. So literally a photo finish. I was not expecting that. I honestly thought I was either going to go way over the time or I was going to have to pick up something else for like 20 minutes before I actually finally finished. I had such a good time with Deadstream. It is so good. I'm definitely rating this one 5 stars. It was a super fun time from start to finish. Very unique. I tried to capture a bit of it, and hopefully I'll include a little bit of footage that shows that like some of the text is written in the form of like stream chats and comment threads and stuff, kind of like a Reddit thread. Not all of it, but there's quite a bit of it like weaved into every single chapter. I will say I really personally loved this, but I'm also really into gaming and YouTube and live streams and stuff like that. If that's not really your thing, I don't think I'd recommend this one just because I feel like it would probably be a bit confusing. But if you are into that stuff, this was so much fun. I believe it comes out in April of 2025, so if this sounds at all interesting to you, that is when it is supposed to be released. I will leave a link for it in the description below, as well as all of the other books in this readathon. So as far as this readathon goes, I will say it is quite successful as far as quantity of books read. Quality of books, there were some good ones and there were some not so great ones. So I actually ended up reading 7 2/3 of a book. I always love doing readathons just because it definitely motivates me to actually read a lot more than mindlessly scroll through my phone. Anyway, on that note, I think I'm gonna leave this video here. I hope you have a great rest of your week and happy reading.